Traumas of separation are at the basis of family constellations. So I decided to explore the family history of famous people in search of traumas that might have hindered their own successes. I want to illustrate and look at the reasons why some lives, in this case of celebrities or historical personalities, have turned out to be what we know so far. So we could understand how trauma, how the unconscious act in all of us, how family systems work, and how interconnected and entangled we are and we can be. What was unresolved in their family systems that have passed on to them. What remains unconscious does not dissolve. It resurfaces as fate or fortune, said Carl Jung. We're likely to repeat patterns of emotions and behaviors that were too difficult for somebody in our own family system to resolve.
If I'm generally anything, I guess I'm generally miserable.
About Marilyn Monroe. So let's begin with the facts, because we only work with facts. She was abandoned when she was 2 weeks old by her mother. She didn't know her father. She never met him, although she knew, she had an idea of who he was. She attempted to meet him. She never was successful. She had several foster families, and by the age of 9, from 9 to 11, she was in an orphanage. They told her her mother was dead, which was not true. She was sexually abused. I've seen in some places they mentioned that she was abused at the age of 8. Others, she was abused in her early adult life. There was sexual abuse involved. She had 4 half-siblings, 2 from her mother's side and 2 from her father's side, although she only met her half-sister from her mother's side. She married at the age of 16 to a neighbor. She told her doctor that she considered killing herself and was committed to a clinic in New York. She confessed to her psychiatrist that she had had sex with several of the women she had worked with. Unless this is necessary for the process of healing, there is no need of knowing who she went to bed with. She had 3 miscarriages and suffered from endometriosis. She kept her mother as a secret for a period of time until 5 women, including her own mother, claimed to be her mother, and she had to expose and tell who her mother and her story, what her story was. Gladys, Marilyn Monroe's mother. She grew up in a family of 7 children with no father. Her father died in a freak accident, and her mother raised them by herself. Gladys had already been married twice.
Baker and her husband had 2 other children, Jackie and Bernice, before they got divorced in 1923. She received custody of the kids, but he kidnapped them and fled to Kentucky.
When she met with Charles Gifford, they were both working in Hollywood as film cutters, and all 3 husbands, all 3 men left her.
When James left home when he joined the Merchant Navy, Marilyn wasn't happy with that decision. Being abandoned by him too definitely brought back some feelings of low self-worth. When she was still struggling financially, she was late with her rent payments.
So her mother gave her into adoption, and then she would keep visiting her.
Over the years, Gladys continued to request the Bollanders return her daughter to her, but They refused, and by the time Norma Jean was 7 in 1933, her mother had gotten a loan for a house, and Gladys received news that her son Jackie had died. Almost the same time, she learned that her grandfather had hanged himself and her entire studio was going on strike. Then in 1934, she suffered a nervous breakdown. She was then institutionalized at a state hospital in Norwalk, California.
She tried to buy a house and create a stable life so she could have Marilyn. At the same time, she got the news that her 13-year-old son had died from a kidney disease, and that's when she had big nervous breakdown. She was institutionalized throughout her entire life. How many traumas do we see here? No father, children taken away, no money, not having money. We know it's linked to not having a father, moving from one place to another, a father. The relationship with the three men leaving her like the father left her. We have quotes from Marilyn saying, and here I say this is very common from who have this break